All right, I'm Bob Goldman. I'm professor of law at WCL, and I guess one of the original founders and co-directors uh, of the center. And I've been asked to comment on what role the center will play within legal education and in the promotion and protection of human rights. The center really was an outgrowth originally and very much inspired by our students for the varied faculty members that have worked and have extensive practical experience in the human rights and law of war field. Without trying to sound like one is bragging, WCL really boasts a faculty with practical experience in the field of human rights, which frankly is unmatched at any other law school in the hemisphere. We have 3 former presidents of the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, a past president and member of the UN Committee Against Torture. We also have on the board 3 of us who served with thematic mandates within the UN system. And all of us have been associated with many non-governmental organizations, both here and abroad, and many of us have been involved in key litigation before numerous human rights treaty bodies. And I think when you have that kind of expertise, you bring it to not only the classroom for our students, but you also bring it and it helps to inform activities that the center has been engaged in over these many years. So the expertise really lends itself well by virtue of the activities of the co-directors to the mission of the center, the kinds of litigation opportunities and research opportunities that are presented for our students. So let me go to the second question. In what direction do you see human rights going in the next 30 years? Well, when I was younger, I used to think that progress in the field was going to be rather linear. The past 4 years in this country, as well as the rise of authoritarian populists in many democracies and not so democratic countries over the last 15 years, has taught me that that is not going to be the case. We've been fortunate in this country to have survived the last 4 years with the past administration's embrace of dictators and thugs around the world, which have set back our ability to engage in human rights naming and shaming. But what I do believe is that the architectural framework of human rights is so deeply embedded in the international legal and political system that despite the setbacks that we have been experiencing, it's going to be very difficult for long periods of time to set back promotion, protection of human rights. There simply are too many institutions, and in particular, a very vibrant civil society and civil society organizations, non-governmental organizations, of which really the center forms a part, not only in this country, but abroad, that will continue the good fight, notwithstanding a situation where you may not have a US administration or in other democracies, which cares very much about human rights or actually seeks to undermine them. So I'm still reasonably hopeful that human rights law is going to continue to play a major role in bilateral, multilateral diplomacy and so forth for the foreseeable future. What advice would you give to a young human rights lawyer? That would be to get a very well-rounded legal education, in the sense to take all the basics. And if possible, I think it's very important that once you graduate, to go into law practice at least for several years in order to hone your skills as a lawyer. We're fortunate in this country to have a tradition of volunteers, pro bono publico, which will enable individuals, while they are serving their clients in a more traditional capacity, will be able to still do human rights work. WCL has placed a tremendous amount of our former students, many of whom have been involved with the center in key positions with non-governmental organizations around the world, as well as within multilateral institutions where they have been able to work on human rights issues. But the key is a well-rounded legal education that prepares you for litigation and those very basic skills, which you are going to need when, for instance, in advocating for human rights, you're going to be having to take on a government or multiple governments which are not respecting fundamental human rights. So that's my basic advice. Thank you.